The loudest sound in the world isn't an explosion or a car crash. It's the sound of your own mother's voice turning completely cold the exact second she thinks you're broke. My name is Emma Smith. I'm 32 years old, and a month ago, I sold my sustainable green tech startup for $25 million. I built that company from absolute scratch in a freezing garage. I missed birthdays, skipped holidays, burned through friendships, and ran on 4 hours of sleep for 7 straight years. I thought that selling the company, securing that kind of generational wealth, would finally buy me peace. I thought it would finally make my family proud of me. Instead, it bought me the most terrifying clarity of my entire life. You see, the moment the ink dried on the acquisition contract, I didn't pop champagne. I called my parents. But I didn't tell them I was a multimillionaire. On the strict advice of my lead attorney, a brilliant guy named Marcus, I told them a very specific lie. I told them the company was hit with a massive, devastating patent lawsuit. I told them I had lost everything. I was bankrupt. Marcus had warned me earlier that week. He said, "Emma, the moment your family thinks your pockets are empty, they're going to show you who they really are. Don't react, just observe." It sounded paranoid, but at 2 a.m. that night, my cousins secretly forwarded me a screenshot from a private family group chat, a chat I wasn't allowed in. At the top of the screen, my mother had typed, "This is our chance. We move tomorrow morning." Beneath it, my sister, Chloe, replied, "Told you she was a failure. Get the trust paperwork ready before she realizes what's happening." My stomach dropped. Trust paperwork? What trust? I had just built a $25 million empire, and the people who raised me were treating my fabricated downfall like a winning lottery ticket. They were circling me like vultures. At exactly 7:15 a.m. the next morning, my phone rang. It was my mother. There was no warmth in her voice, no comfort. She sounded like a middle manager calling in an employee to fire them. "Emma," she said, her voice completely flat, "you need to come to the family house today, right now. There are financial matters we need to contain." She didn't know I had seen their group chat. She didn't know I knew about the secret trust, and she definitely didn't know I wasn't coming alone. Driving up to my childhood home, my hands were shaking against the steering wheel, but it wasn't out of fear anymore. It was betrayal. Betrayal is a weird emotion. It burns through your veins like poison, but eventually it solidifies into absolute armor. When I walked through the front door, air inside was suffocating. My mother didn't hug me. My father didn't even look me in the eye. They just pointed to the dining room table. Sitting there was my sister, Chloe, arms crossed, wearing this disgusting, triumphant smirk. She had been waiting her whole life for me to crash and burn. My father slid a thick beige envelope across the mahogany table. "Sign these, Emma," he said, his voice entirely devoid of emotion. "It's damage control. It's better for everyone." I looked down at the paperwork. The bold letters at the top made my vision blur. Bold revocation of beneficiary rights. They were cutting me out completely. "You're unstable right now," my father continued, his eyes dead and calculating. "You've made reckless choices. You blew your whole company. The family trust needs protection from your debts." My mother stepped closer, leaning in to play the sympathetic role. "If you sign it quietly, Emma, we won't pursue the irresponsible heir clause. We won't let the lawyers penalize you." Irresponsible heir clause. So many legal words that meant only one thing. They thought I was drowning, and instead of throwing me a life raft, they were legally tying an anchor around my ankles to make sure they got my share of my grandmother's estate. Chloe couldn't help herself. She actually pulled out her phone, hit record, and aimed the camera right at my face. "Look at her," Chloe mocked, making sure the lighting caught my supposed misery. "The great tech genius. Lost it all in 1 week. Say hi to the family group chat, Emma." They all laughed, a cold, echoing laugh that I will never forget for as long as I live. But their laughter died instantly, because right at that second, the front door clicked open. Marcus stepped into the dining room, crisp navy suit, a leather briefcase in his hand, and an expression carved out of solid granite. He didn't even knock. My father stiffened. My mother froze mid-smile. Chloe slowly lowered her phone, her smirk fading into confusion. "Good morning," Marcus said, his voice terrifyingly polite. "I see you've already started the execution without me." "Who the hell are you?" my father demanded, his face turning red. "Get out of my house." Marcus calmly walked to the table and set his briefcase down. "I am Emma's lead legal counsel, and I'm here because Emma didn't lose anything. She sold her company on Thursday for $25 million. The money is sitting safely in a diversified portfolio." Silence. The kind of silence that is so heavy you can actually feel it in your chest. My father's jaw literally dropped. The color completely drained from my mother's face. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Chloe just stared at her phone screen, completely paralyzed. Marcus didn't stop. He popped the latches on his briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents 3 times thicker than the envelope they'd tried to force on me. He dropped it on the table with a loud thud. "Emma followed my legal instructions to test this family's intentions, and you took the bait flawlessly. These documents are bank transfers, notarized emails, and court filings. You 3 attempted to secretly reroute the family trust into a private offshore account under Chloe's name, using Emma's fabricated bankruptcy as a pretense." "That's a lie," my mother stammered, her hands starting to visibly shake. Marcus tilted his head. "Am I? The irresponsible heir clause you just threatened my client with? I know it well. I'm the one who drafted it for your late mother, Emma's grandmother, but you clearly didn't read the fine print. That clause doesn't apply to beneficiaries who lose money. It applies to trustees who commit fraud against the estate." Chloe swallowed so hard I could hear it. "By attempting to defraud Emma today," Marcus stated, his voice echoing in the silent room, "you have automatically triggered a bad faith breach. You are legally stripped of your status as trustees, effective immediately." My father lunged forward, slamming his fists on the table. "You wouldn't dare! You think you can steal my family's legacy?" I finally spoke up. My voice was dangerously calm. "I'm not stealing anything, Dad. I'm just claiming what you tried to steal from me." Panic set in, real, raw, unfiltered panic. My mother reached out and grabbed my wrist, tears suddenly welling up in her eyes. Fake tears summoned by desperation. "Emma, please, sweetheart, we raised you. If we lose the trust, we lose the house. Chloe loses her monthly stipend. We can't afford that. You have $25 million. You don't need this." I gently but firmly pulled my arm out of her grip. "You're right. I don't need the money, but I need you to understand that actions have consequences. You gave me life, Mom, but you never gave me loyalty." Defeated, humiliated, and backed into a legal corner they built themselves, my parents signed the formal resignation papers Marcus provided. They surrendered everything. Chloe sat on the couch, crying quietly, her phone forgotten on the floor. Just as we turned to leave, Marcus stopped. He reached into his suit jacket and pulled out a small, aged ivory envelope sealed with red wax. He handed it to me. "Your grandmother entrusted this to me 5 years ago. She told me to give it to you only if your parents ever tried to cut you out. She knew what they were capable of." I broke the red wax seal. Inside was a handwritten letter and a single, heavy brass key. The letter was short. It read, "Emma, my brave girl, if you are reading this, I am sorry my son failed you. I always knew your strength would come from surviving the people who should have protected you. The trust is yours to manage, but this key, this is my real legacy. It belongs only to you." Attached to the letter was a property deed. It wasn't just a house. It was a massive 500-acre private estate in the mountains of Colorado, a property worth triple what the entire family trust held. My grandmother had hidden it from my parents for decades, waiting to give it to the only person in the family who actually knew the value of hard work. My father saw the deed. He tried to speak, but the words just choked in his throat. I folded the letter, slipped the key into my pocket, and walked out the front door. The morning sun hit my face, and for the first time in my entire life, I didn't feel the weight of trying to please people who never wanted me to win. Look, people will tell you that holding a grudge is toxic. They'll tell you that you should always forgive and forget. But let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Sometimes holding on to that anger, that stubbornness, using it as fuel is the only thing that will pull you out of the mud. Don't let anger turn you into a bad person. Let it turn you into an unstoppable one. Use the disrespect, use the betrayal, use every single person who doubted you as bricks to build your empire. Revenge isn't about screaming matches. It isn't about destroying someone else's life. The ultimate, most devastating revenge you can ever get is massive, undeniable success. It's securing your future so entirely that the people who tried to bury you have to watch you bloom from the sidelines. They thought I lost it all, but the truth is, I just gained my freedom.